Well, the Bivol fight, I think, before the Canelo fight was a 50-50 fight, right? But because of the victory against Canelo Alvarez, I think you have to say Bivol is a slight favourite. But when we was in Abu Dhabi for the press conference, he's huge. You know, I mean, he was heavy at the time, but still, he's a huge 175-pounder, Zurdo. But Bivol is full of confidence. You know, you have to put Bivol on the pound-for-pound list right now after his victory against Canelo Alvarez. But I just feel like it's a tremendous fight, and you know, one of the fights of the year. Estrada Chocolatito, I don't know what Chocolatito is eating, but I would like to have some because he's getting better as he's getting older. He's like Benjamin Button, right? You've seen that film where like the older he gets, the better he gets, you know, and just one of the greatest fighters. You know, Estrada boxed well recently, but came through a tough fight. But the problem is the motivation. You know, when you're in a fight like that, you're just expected to win. He knows against Chocolatito, it's 1-1. This is the rubber match. You know, the last fight was a very close fight. Chocolatito could have won that fight. But this fight, again, sometimes you make a fight, you know, can only be amazing. Like, I saw the first fight on TV. I promoted the second fight. It was one of the best fights I've ever watched live. The third fight will be just as good. You know, it's just a tremendous fight. I think that Canelo will be watching the Bivol Ramirez fight and hoping that Ramirez wins because he's Mexican, but also won't be disappointed if Bivol wins because he wants to rematch him. And I think potentially Canelo against Bivol could be next if Bivol was to win that fight.
And the last part of the 2023, it's probably that the winner of Bivol against Zurdo will fighting with Arthur de Bergerac or Anthony Yarde.
Yeah, I think that if Bivol wins, you know, Canelo isn't really interested in the world championship at 175. He's interested in the fight because he wants to avenge his defeat. So I think if Bivol wins the fight, I think there's a very good chance he could fight Canelo Alvarez. If Zurdo wins, maybe he fights Beterbiev, or you know, I don't think for Canelo it's not really about fighting Zurdo. It's just he wants Bivol, the guy that beat him. But who knows? You know, Canelo Alvarez has the best resume in boxing. I cannot believe that people question the resume of Canelo Alvarez. Like, just write it down on a piece of paper or read off the names that he's fought consistently. And you've got other guys, you know, great fighters like Benavidez. You talk about Benavidez now going to fight uzcategui, or however you say it. Uzcategui. Good fighter, strong fighter, but come on. Like, you're screaming out for Canelo Alvarez. You have to make statements. You have to make the fans say, Canelo, you must take, like, you know that when a fighter is big enough and when Canelo Alvarez feels like that fighter deserves his opportunity, he will give him that opportunity. And I don't blame Benavidez because I think Benavidez wants to be in big fights. But it's embarrassing. Like, and when did Benavidez last fight? Like, he's fighting, now they announced a fight for January or February. Why? You know, again, Caleb Plant, you know, saw him with a good win. But Charlo, who's Charlo fight? Like, these guys, and Benavidez is a great fighter.
Do you consider they are waiting for the big purse, Canelo Alvarez, waiting for the possibilities to earn?
Yeah, but
more?
they won't. You have to force a fight. There's no reason when Canelo Alvarez has achieved everything he's achieved. Where's the motivation to fight David Benavidez? Like, don't get me wrong, it's a good fight, but he wants to challenge himself, rematch Bivol, you know, move up to light heavyweight, come down, fight, you know, the trilogy, and he will fight Benavidez. I'm sure it's not my decision. It's Eddie Hearn, but he has no fear of David Benavidez. But all he wants is these guys to earn the shot and let the world call out into a huge fight. And if he went, you know, if Benavidez went and beat Charlo or Benavidez went and beat Plant, Canelo would fight him in an instant. But he's fighting uzcategui in January or February. Like,
Doesn't make sense.
I think they're doing a disservice to Benavidez's career. You know, because he's a great fighter, and I know he wants big fights. You know, you got two guys in the same camp, Plant and Benavidez. It's a massive fight. Make the fight. You know, I don't understand. Canelo Alvarez is unrivaled as the biggest star in the sport, with the best resume in the sport. And for me, he's still pound for pound number one. Just because you move up to a division you shouldn't be in and get beaten, you know. But also, don't forget that I have a feeling that Canelo Alvarez has been struggling, you know, physically with his wrist and stuff like that for a few fights now. And I don't think he was at his best against Bivol. And I think they might have underestimated him as well. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a great performance from Bivol, but for me, 100% fit and ready Canelo Alvarez against Dmitry Bivol is a different kind of fight. And hopefully Sal gets himself physically ready. And if Bivol can beat Ramirez, you should expect to see the rematch in May.
How soon do you think you can come back to Mexico City or Mexico?
We hope maybe in December or January. Like I said, it's important to bring these stars to their home city, and that's why this weekend works so well.
Canelo Alvarez in Mexico City will be.
Yeah. But really, Canelo has kind of reached the stage now where what is next? What else can you do for your career and your legacy? For me, fighting internationally, not just in Mexico, but fighting in London, fighting in the Middle East, fighting in Japan, like wherever it's going to be, that is what all global great stars do. And for me to promote, to see that at the Azteca would just be, that would be something very special. And like I said, it's difficult because as a fighter of his level, you have to accept you're going to make half the money that you would to do it in Las Vegas. But also, he's a very proud man. And I know that it would be emotionally, special for him to bring a fight back to his people. The Estrada fight recently was a great card from top to bottom. And it seems that every show, every fight we put on in Mexico seems to be so much entertainment. And I think this Saturday exactly the same. Mexico City for the first time. The return of Mauricio Lara, but a great undercard as well. And Lara's making a big name for himself now. He's a dangerous man. And he's going to be in a great fight against San Martin.
San Martin, you can overlook.
Yeah, I think the dangerous thing is everybody's talking about Lara against Lee Wood, against Josh Warrington, against Santa Cruz, but San Martin is a good opponent. He's coming off 7 straight wins. He went 12 rounds with Navarrete in a really good fight. Like the thing with Lara is he comes out like a train, right? The first 3-4 rounds. If you can get through those rounds, that's when it starts to become really interesting. But with Lara, you never know. From the first bell, just all action, and that's why he's so exciting.
What will happen with that train if Lara beats San Martin?
I think we want to reschedule the Lee Wood fight, and I think the winner of that fight should fight Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington has a tough fight coming up against Alberto Lopez from Mexico as well. He's mandatory challenger. The division's great, and the thing is with Mauricio Lara, he will fight anyone. And that's so exciting for us because it's literally not an opponent he wouldn't accept. So it's great to see him fighting here. We expect a great atmosphere. It's a small venue, but it's going to be a great atmosphere and a great fight card from top to bottom.
Mauricio Lara told me that the fight with Warrington, it's personal.
Yeah.
So it could be a good fight.
He talks great, and Warrington has to win in December first. There is a possible unification with Lee Wood, but Warrington against Lara 3 is a massive fight, and Josh Warrington will take that fight. Lee Wood will take the fight against Lara. There is still maybe some question marks over Mauricio Lara if the fight goes long. Don't forget when we brought Mauricio Lara to fight Josh Warrington, we didn't expect him to lose that fight, but a lot of people said to me in the build-up to that fight, this kid can really punch. Like Navarrete said, he's the biggest puncher he's been in with in sparring. And I was like, and you saw what happened. So he's a very exciting fighter.
Now you have a great schedule for the end of the year because you have tons of boxers doing their best in great nights.
Yeah, last week we were in Australia. This week, of course, Mexico City. Next week in London for Katie Taylor. Then Bivol against Zurdo, which for me is one of the fights of the year. Huge fight card in Abu Dhabi. Then we're in Cleveland for Montana Love. We've got Dillian White coming up. We have Estrada Chocolatito 3 on December the 3rd. December 10th, Warrington against Lopez. So non-stop. But there's always something special about coming to Mexico. Because the fighters give it all. Even the opponents. You know that guys like Reshat Mati, this is a dangerous fight. Like this kid, he will do anything to win because it will change his life forever. And fans know that when we do a show in Mexico, these guys are going to put everything on the line. I think that, every time we've been to Mexico, every show has been fantastic. The energy's been fantastic. The heritage, the history in Mexico, the fan base, the understanding. And not just that, but for us, the audience in America has also been huge. Because don't forget that, a huge proportion of the zone subscribers in Mexico are also in the US are also Canelo Alvarez fans. Therefore, they might have, a Mexican or a Hispanic background, and they're watching all these shows in Mexico. So for us, we plan to do 5 to 6 shows a year in Mexico and unearth talent. Like Mauricio Lara was never supposed to be what he is now, right? But we found him, we gave him the opportunity, and all I want is to see exciting fights for TV. And I know that when I put a Mexican in those fights, he gives us exciting fights. Yeah, I think it's difficult to not be a contender, because no one's going to get knocked out in that fight early. So it's going to go rounds, and every round's going to be competitive, every round's going to be thrilling. So therefore, I feel like the fight will go 12 rounds again, and it will be backwards and forwards. But right now, I have to say that Chocolatito is the favourite for that fight, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Hub TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Hub TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.